Fwrd Axis News, Future and Balance.
Welcome to Fwrd Axis Live, a Fwrd Axis news production, bringing you the latest stories in the worlds of news, sports, politics, and entertainment. Fwrd Axis News, Future and Balance.
Welcome to Fwrd Axis Live. I'm your host, Stephen Michael.
I'm Jäger.
And today we are here with another episode to recap Big Brother's live eviction show. And Ty, what a show it was. We're going to get to all that in a moment. But first, we were not here Wednesday. As we mentioned at the top, we are going to be here Sundays and Thursdays, So let's talk about Wednesday's episode, Ty. Before we get to that first, I must let you know, first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thursdays are always my Friday now, so I'm excited for the weekend, and I like that I start my weekends with Big Brother now. So I'm going to be enjoying this.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear you're doing well. I'm doing well on my end as well. So let's get right into Wednesday's episode since we were not here Wednesday. Not much really happened Wednesday. I mean, unless you talk about the whole Muffin Gate, but we talked about Muffin Gate already, and I think Muffin Gate's already been played out by now. As we talked about, we talked about it Sunday. We're like, you know what, Turner at this point, if he gets to the final two and Jasmine's the deciding vote, basically we saw the chief found out that he ate her muffin, and I'm pretty sure if he's in the final two, she will not vote for him to win because of it. So we're not going to touch so much on much of what happened Wednesday, but we got to talk about OTEV. It is a classic Big Brother competition. It was a little bit earlier this year than seasons past. They usually have it a little bit later on in the season, but this time they had it at final 12. I think there's 11 people left, so 12. They had it at final 12, which is a lot earlier. So what do you think of the OTEV comp?
It's kind of lost its spark a little bit for me, just because there's a weird thing. I'm going to spoil what the competition is. I think everyone knows it's the wall comp this week. I'm kind of not digging the legendary insert normal game here that everyone loves for some loves. Yeah, the wall comes a really great endurance game. OTEV's is just a speed of like hide and go seek in a way, in terms that you just got to find it. And I didn't really like the theme. I could barely understand the bug at times with the music. So I'm just fortunate I was not playing that game, because I probably wouldn't know what to go for from, let alone hear what was being said.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of these classic competitions have, kind of lost a little bit. This is kind of why I always say, like, I need to get to like Big Brother Australia or another country's Big Brother, because their competitions are so much better and they change from year to year. Yeah, you can have your staples like every Big Brother does, but the majority of them change and they're a lot tougher from year to year. And CBS has a massive budget, I'm sure bigger than any of these other countries have. Considering it's a multi-million-dollar company.
Although I think Canada gives them a run for their money, though. Canada has a big production in terms of the house, from just what I've seen.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, when season 11 rolls around, I'm talking Big Brother, we need to get you into it at least for one season. Okay. But I mean, for their budget, they could be. The house could do a massive upgrade too for that. It's been the same house since Big Brother, I think, 4 or 5, maybe Big Brother 3. I mean, it's been the same house for a while. So, I mean, we need some upgrades. But anyway, back to the competition. You're right. The bug was weird. I didn't like the singing. I'm thinking, I just got done watching America's Got Talent the night before. I wanted to hear some dude in a costume or some dude in a microphone in the back trying to sing a song to these people. But the actual competition, I mean, it's good. I mean, you know what you have to do. It involves a little bit of luck and a little bit of skill at the same time. So you need to be lucky to find what you need to find. You also have some skill to be, physically in shape. I am very shocked, I tell you, that Jasmine's ankle managed to heal in time for this competition and then re-injure it right afterwards. So
I'm just impressed that she got through one round. She got through one. I'm proud of her. She was a little slow, but I'm proud of her. She got the search function down really quick. She got up the ramp, and she survived one round. I am proud of her. I am genuinely proud of her.
Now, let me ask you. She claimed later, which we did not see on the show, but on the feeds, she did claim she threw it. Do you buy that story?
Yeah, it's an early round. I don't like if you're going to throw the competition, you kind of want to get like midway through the competition, but not without looking like you're throwing it. So it makes sense. But also, I remember that we heard a lot of people got hurt during that game in general before, and just you didn't see any of it on the show at all.
Yeah. On the show, just for full exposure here, as we said before on Sunday, we're going to be telling you guys what you didn't see on the show, which is during that veto, Brittany's knee got really scraped up. First of all, like I believe if I read the feeds correctly, she needed like 6 stitches in her knee. Michael and Turner's hands are all just messed up because of that competition. Monty's hands were messed up. Joseph, all of them just had some really messed up bodies after that comp. So, and I'm thinking, what did they do in OTEV this year that was different? Because I don't know if there were knives in that pool of stuff they were looking for or what, but it was.
There's some sharp edges.
Okay, so we get to it, and we see some of these players start to fall, and it comes down to Terrence and Michael. And Terrence tells Michael, "I need you to win this. I need you to win this because he has a plan to keep nominations the same to send Monty home." Now, I mean, as we know, for those who saw the episode, Michael won his, 5th competition now, I believe.
I think he's tied now. I think he's tied for the most in the season.
Yeah, so he's getting up there, and he wonders why he's a threat. But anyway, so he's getting up there. And the thing is with Michael, I'm not buying this story that Terrence threw it, even though we heard him say it on the broadcast. Hey, I need to go and do this. I'm not buying he threw it. I mean, I just personally think Terrence sucks at competitions. I don't think he's good. I don't think Jasmine is any good at competitions. I think both of those stories of both of them, I threw it, is complete BS. I don't buy that at all. As you said at the top, there's a wall comp that we all knew was coming for this next HOH. I can almost guarantee, without even watching what's going on, I can guarantee you that Terrence is not going to win this one because the guy is just not, a little crazy. And I see you got 2 buddies in the back there.
Yeah, they're distracting me a little bit. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you.
You're good. So I mean, I don't think that Terrence is just any good at competitions. I see him being a Derek F. I don't see him winning a single competition this season. I don't care what it is. So, I mean, that's just my theory on that. But yeah, so we know Michael won. Oh, wait, anyway, do you have any theories? Do you think Terrence did throw it, or do you think he is covered?
He seems too trusting. He was too trusting of Michael, so I actually legitimately think he threw it. Just from that, he thought Michael was on his side. Like the whole other house from the leftovers seems really gullible at first, and then they realize it when it's way too late in the game for them. So it's I think when we get to further on, Terrence might get a little help, but right now Terrence he pulled a Daniel in terms of thinking he can trust Michael. Now he didn't get his number 1 guy kicked out right away. I know. Never mind. He did.
Honestly, he did. Yeah.
But it did put him in a weird place where he wants nominations to stay the same, and it kind of seems weird to go get the veto and then be the third person to not use the veto on yourself, pretty much. So, I think he legitimately threw it, thinking he had Michael's trust. And also, I just want to say one thing with OTEV. I'm not sure what the pattern is. But whatever Michael's strategy was in the collection aspect, I feel like that works every damn time, right? Or at least gets you really far into OTEV.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, knowing. I mean, let's be real. This show has been on 22 or 24 seasons, 22 years, and let's just put it this way: he has been, this competition, has been one that's been played year after year. People who watch it on TV will figure out there's a certain pattern how to win this. There's a certain way to get further into this certain competition. So I'm sure Michael, as a Big Brother super fan, did exactly that. He probably studied like, hey, I know OTEV is going to come at some point. If I'm there, this is probably what I need to do to win. So that's exactly what he did, and kudos to him. Now, touching off of Michael's win, Ty, I want to touch on this. I have 2 questions for you, and I'm going to ask you the first one here. Did Michael really need to win this competition? And the reason why I ask that is, as we saw at the beginning of the week, he nominated Monty, Terrence, and Joseph for eviction. The plan of the leftovers was to backdoor Daniel and put Daniel and Kyle up and ultimately get Daniel out of the house. Michael, on the other hand, is like, you know what? I'm thinking maybe Daniel going home is not best for my game. It may be best for the rest of my alliance, but it's not best for my game. So he was thinking about keeping nominations the same to get rid of Monty, as was Taylor, actually, who we saw in Wednesday's episode. She was thinking, you know what? This might be a time to do it, to do this. And so let me ask you, did Michael need to win this?
I think... Again, I'm going in the mindset that I am playing Big Brother, and this is what the game I would want to play. Mm-hmm. I want to win. I don't, and knowing that early in that game where you have seven people out there total, and 4 of them are on the leftovers. Well, the leftovers get knocked out pretty much first thing outside of Michael,
right?
And so you're left down to 3 people who all want Monty out for the betterment of their game, but also it takes it out of your hands in terms of controlling the situation. Now, I think once it got knocked down to that final 4 of them, Michael probably would have not needed to win it if before that, but once it got down in there, not knowing where these people would go, and probably understanding that Monty might be too early of a target, at least at this point in the game, not knowing anything that's coming ahead outside of the Festie's twist was going to end. I'd rather play it safe in terms of keep my alliance happy, because that's 6 other people on my side in a crucial point of the house where you just need to get rid of the rest of the peanut gallery, pretty much. That was not the intentional nickname, but we're going to stick with it. But I think at that point in the game, he kind of had to determine himself to say, I kind of have to win if I really want to direct exactly what I want to go. And so say that he made his mind up after winning veto. Maybe he would decide to go and try to go after Monty. But in this case, he still had a choice and had a decision of which way he wanted to go.
Yeah, and I agree. So I will say you're right in what you're thinking. But at the same time, if I'm Michael, I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're a competitor, you're going to want to go out there and win every competition, no matter what it is. I mean, that's just the competitive drive in anybody. I mean, I know you and I cover the San Antonio Spurs, and the Spurs could be down by 17 points in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes left, but they're not going to pack it in. They're going to try and reduce that lead as much as they can because they're competitors. You know what I mean? So the same kind of thing applies to Big Brother in a way where if you're a competitor, you're going to want to go out there and compete. I'm not saying every single one of them is a competitor out there because Jasmine, but I mean the majority of them are going to be somebody who want to win. And I'm going to disagree. I don't think Michael needed to win this because in the end, we know that Daniel ultimately goes on the block. But I mean, I don't think he really needed to win it for the reasons of making yourself a bigger target. The guy was already a big target before OTEV. Now winning OTEV only paints a bigger target on his back, and then going into Thursday's episode, which we'll get to later on, it paints an even bigger target whenever we see what happens later. But the second question I have for you, and I'm going to go into this first, is Daniel not getting a little cocky with these wins, winning his first HOH? He's now won a couple more some vetoes as well as in there as well. And I'm going to say yes, he is. And it's really not sitting well with me because he is someone, and don't get me wrong, I still love the guy. I'm rooting for the guy to get to the end. And if you see me looking to the side, I'm looking at my live feed. The HOH competition is currently going on. But for those of you watching us or listening to us, wherever you get your podcasts, we're not going to spoil this for you. Ty and I, we're going to keep quiet about this one. And if you're watching us on our YouTube show, I'm laughing because all I will say, this is not going to be a spoiler because this is classic wall comp. They're just spraying them with stuff, and it's hilarious to see them all covered in just all this crap. I mean, it is just hilarious to see. You look over and you see like just bodies on a wall with like sludge all over them, and it's like they got put through a car wash with like different multicolored stuff. It is hilarious. But anyways, that's what I'm looking at.
I saw a tweet, someone saying that they looked like some of the players were camouflaged.
Exactly. I was like, look at who's in this, because I had to look like, is that who I think it is? And you know, I mean, it's hilarious. But anyway, so that's what we're looking at. But we're not going to spoil this competition for you guys. We will talk about that on Sunday. Ty, that's going to be a fun one for us to talk about on Sunday.
Michael being cocky. Go ahead. Do you still have more to that, or do you want me to answer that?
Yeah. So Michael being cocky is, a little bit not sitting well with me because he like I said, he's a very good player. Michael is a very solid player. He has a very good competition record. His social game is doing really well. I have not seen, and maybe I don't know if you have, but I have not seen anybody say, I can't stand Michael. He's this, and that. They're just threatened by him because the guy's winning stuff, and that's a perfect valid reason. But he's being cocky, and I think that cockiness is eventually going to go to his head. He's going to make a mistake. And that's why I say he's going to mess up at some point, because he was already thinking, well, you know what? I think he was saying in the diary of the broadcast, like, let's just, let me just go and win another one. Like, why not? What are they going to do? Like, be a little more humble.
At least the thing I would say with it, at least he's being cocky to himself. He's really only doing it in the diary room or privately. He's not. Whenever he is kind of gloating, I would be proud of that. But you tie a record before jury even started, so I think there's something to be proud of. And yeah, you get a little too humbled with yourself in that aspect. But as long as he's doing it privately and he's not showboating it in other people's face, I think he's going to maintain that social game that you mentioned. And yeah, he's going to lose some competitions. That's going to be a given. And I think game-wise, I think he's a bit more level-headed than he's shown in the diary room or anything like that in terms of gloating. I think he's much more level-headed, and if he's going to get evicted, it's going to be because someone else outplayed him, or he was just not able to finally win a competition in that aspect. But I think he's going to be a guy that gets far, depending on how this next twist goes. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that most likely on Monday's episode. But I think he's a guy. I think he's a guy that's going to go farther though.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about the twist on our next podcast in Thursday's episode, which we'll get to shortly. Julie did mention that at the end of the episode, so we're going to get to that. But before we do, sticking with Wednesday, Michael. It's time for the nomination ceremony. Michael and Michael and Brittany did use the veto to take off the guys, and in their place went up Daniel and Kyle. And when Daniel and Kyle went up, the faces of Terrence and Jasmine and Alyssa and Indy, I was like, let me just screen grab this because this is just perfect. Your little plan did not work. It was poorly executed because we saw, it didn't happen as quick as the show showed, because obviously you can't show 4 hours in one episode. But in a span of 4 hours, you had Monty, Jasmine, all four of them go up there to Michael and tell him the exact same story. This is why we need to get Monty out. Then, Michael goes, wait a minute. Why are they telling me the same story? I bet you they're all working together, and it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. So, of course, he figured that out. It would be best for them to get rid of Monty, but not for him. So he doesn't use the veto. And in Michael's speech, he throws it right back at Daniel to what he told Taylor in week one. Is like, maybe give you some time to think about what you did and maybe even apologize to some people for what you've done. What did you think of Michael's speech?
So first off, let's start off with, again, the peanut gallery. They just love to steal their fate, don't they? No, so, and that goes back to that conversation I was saying that, like, with Michael having control of the house, that situation came arise to him, and he was able to make a good decision against the other side as a result. Michael's speech, I love it. I love when you backtrack to something that happened earlier in the game and just use that against someone else. That's all the callback is the best kind of just revenge in a way. And then it's even, like you said, the faces of Jasmine, Terrence, and all of them. But I was enjoying the face of Joseph covering his mouth, but you can see him from the side smiling. He covered his mouth so no one else could see. You see Turner doing that Jim smirk, like he knew it was coming and he was excited to see it. And then Taylor, she's a good evil. Like I say she's becoming evil in terms of the way that she's acting, but not like but more of that demeanor. Not that she is evil, but she's acting kind of like an evil queen, but in a good way to me.
Let me ask you, do you like that side of her?
I do, because we've seen it in this game that you need to be cutthroat, and she's not being cutthroat to people's faces. She's being cutthroat behind the scenes, she kind of gives me a Britney vibes, where Britney was just used that diary room to her advantage just to rail against every other house guest. And Taylor is kind of using that in a similar way.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing about Taylor, which we'll cut to in just a minute, is real quick. I'm gonna touch on Taylor in a minute, but I want to touch what you said about Michael. I agree with you on Michael. If you're going to go to backtrack to something that happened, it needs to be relevant. And I think it is relevant because if you remember, we're going to backtrack, you and I right now, to when Turner won HOH. He called out the hypocrisy in the treatment of Taylor, right? Well, Michael did the same thing in this veto ceremony, kind of called out in a subtle way Daniel for his treatment of Taylor by using his own words against him. And I thought that was really smart. It was really cool. And I mean, you don't even have to be watching the feeds like you and I do to know just by the edit that that Daniel's time was more than likely over at that point. Given we know that the leftovers had the numbers, we know that, everything that happened. But get back to Taylor real quick. Taylor, her smile was like, you know what? Like, freaking A, man, I got you. Like, we got you. The person that gave her hell for the first 3 weeks, the two people that gave her hell, which was Nicole and Daniel. Nicole left last week. Daniel is on the block at this point, and there's a chance he goes home in the eviction this week. And I'm sure that made her very happy. And she sealed it with a bag of Lay's in the diary room. And, I am not kidding you when I tell you that I went and I got some Lay's from HEB. And for those of you guys who don't know what HEB is, HEB, it's a store in Texas. And it's
San Antonio specifically, like down in that central Texas. Unfortunately, we only have like 2 in Dallas-Fort Worth. It's sad.
Yeah. Yes. So, okay. So anyway.
So you got the Lay's.
I think you got the Lay's. I mean, I love my Lay's. I don't think you know what I'm moving at, but I got my Lay's, and I love my Lay's. And I will say, I've not had Lay's for a while, and I mean, I love Lay's. I usually have them like a special time, but they're freaking good. It was so good. Anyways, besides the Lay's point, Taylor, Taylor's a good egg, and I'm rooting for her all the way. She's one of my favorites, as I mentioned to you. So that was anything to add before we move on to Thursday.
Taylor, while I think the Lay's thing is being played up a little bit, I can't say I'm not enjoying it. I can't say that I'm not enjoying it. I am having a lot. It's compared to the first few weeks where Taylor seemed like she was having the worst time of her life.
Yeah.
She is getting bullied all around. She feels like that no matter what she does, she's doing something to upset someone when that's not even the case. And just to see this dramatic turnaround, have this experience pretty much make a 180 in terms of you're not having fun, you're depressed, you're having anxiety, to you're having fun, you're laughing, you are in a better spot game-wise, and you really get to play yourself. And I think that's what she's doing. She's able to play herself in such a good way where she's able to express herself. She's having fun with it. She's doing the evil queen grins, winks, and just the tone. Yeah. And it's a lot of fun. She is going to win America's favorite player. That I think I'm going to guarantee that. If she does not win the season, she's winning that guaranteed.
Let me ask you. I'm glad you brought that up, because let me ask you: do you think she wins America's favorite player because of what happened to her those first 3 weeks, or do you think she wins it for the person that she is, like her personality and the type of person that she is?
I think it's going to be one of the situation that she was in, but the way that she turned it around, the way that she was able to make a whole personality shift in that situation. Yeah, I think America is going to have some pity for those first few weeks, but they're going to see that once she was able to overcome that, once the people in the house saw the atrocity that was going on in terms of her just not having a good time and being bullied and all that, for her to turn around and become that personable, to become that much more fun and become a personality within her own right, that's going to be something that I think America is going to really enjoy. Everyone loves an underdog. Let's be honest too.
Yeah. Exactly. I agree with you. I think she's a great person. I am rooting for her, as I said, to win. I'm rooting for her to win HOH. I'm rooting for her to win just about every competition that she's in because I think she's just an amazing person, amazing player. And the thing is, if not to backtrack again, but if you notice in last Thursday's eviction in her speech, she's "I love you all," and even Nicole, "I love you." Even though Nicole treated her like crap, even Nicole did what she did, she still showed love for Nicole and still kind of forgave her in a way for what happened. And that just shows the type of person that Taylor is deep down. You can treat her bad, but she will still forgive you. And I think that's an amazing quality in anybody, whether it's on Big Brother or not. That's just an amazing quality in anybody. But yeah, I agree. So those are my final thoughts on Wednesday. I think those are your final thoughts as well. So let's move on to tonight's episode, the eviction episode. We started off by Julie confirming to us that the Festie Bestie twist is over. I tweeted this. I was like, you know what? Thank God. Are you happy to see this twist come to an end?
Yes, please, for the love of God. I was great. So it's the way that good twists work is that like they're a temporary thing. Like this was about 3 weeks, and I think it played really well, and I think it ended at a good time. So the best twists affect the game temporarily, not exactly long term, because you still want the traditional game that Big Brother is to play out, especially going into jury. But I think the length was perfect for what was happening, and honestly, it was the time that it came into the game was a perfect time. I think it's not something the producers could have planned in terms of Kyle and Joseph creating the leftovers at that time, but it worked out near perfectly in terms of timing, and I think it lasted perfectly enough to get out two house guests that are honestly not America. Were pretty much America's most hated at that point. So I like the twist and how it affected the game. Now I was very confused about if it was like a battle of the block at first in terms of you put up two pairs. And I was like, you can't do that with this many people, but it made sense in the long run. And I think it made an interesting game for the temporary fact. So I think overall I did like this.
Okay, but we're going to touch on what the actual details of this episode in just a second, but keeping on this for one more minute. I also agree with you. First of all, I tweeted, "Thank you, Julie. The twist is over, America. Thank God," because I mean, there are people who hated it from the beginning. Ty, when this thing started, I was one of those people that hated this twist from the beginning because let's hypothetically say Taylor wins HOH. That means Nicole is safe because she's her Festie Bestie. Nicole is safe, and the majority of America can't stand Nicole. And the person and we all knew if Taylor would have won, Nicole would be safe, and she can't target Nicole. So she would have to shift her target elsewhere. And that's why people didn't like it, because the people that were attached to the leftovers were members of the other side. And that's what made it very strategic. We saw Michael do it this past week with putting the 3 guys up, getting rid of possibly putting Daniel up and all that. So that's why people didn't like it. But I do agree the best twist affect the game short term. And I think 3 weeks was a little too long. I think it maybe should have been 2 weeks. But at the same time, I don't think we would be seeing Daniel on the block at this point if it was not for the Festie Bestie twist, I don't think. So, I mean, that's my thoughts on this. We get to the episode.
No, hold on. I just want to come around back on this. I think it made the game a bit more fun because no one was truly safe now because you had people on both sides as pairs. And honestly, I think it's set up for backdoors much easier because you can't do that Nicole backdoor if you say, oh, we're going to go after Taylor and we're not going after you. Well, if you put her and Taylor on the block in separate entities, Nicole would be very suspicious of what's going on. And that they'd rather have a pawn up there, like a Terrence or someone, so they can go after Taylor. I don't think you would have got those really brilliant backdoors if it wasn't for like Amira, Taylor, Nicole, and then Daniel was kind of a backdoor in terms of, it was a backdoor in terms of that he didn't even get a chance. But you wouldn't have had these blind sides turn and backdoors if it wasn't for this twist, to be honest. True. And I'll be honest, it made good TV. I still have a meme on somewhere on my computer of Nicole's face whenever Amira got evicted. That was an amazing moment right there. I mean, that alone, that screenshot just makes the season right there. And then Taylor doing her wink in the darn with the lace. But that's what you got. So the twist was good. I still say 3 weeks is a little too long, but at the same time, as you said, you would not have gotten some of the things we got because of it. So we get into the episode. It kicks off right after
the veto meeting. So we know that at this point, Daniel and Kyle are on the block. Daniel is pretty much expecting to go at this point. He says in the diary, I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty sure I'm the house target this week. I'm pretty sure that I'm going, but I'm not going to go down without a fight. So he sticks to his guns, and he plans to, at least what the show does not show is that Daniel actually planned to call out and blame the vote on Brittany. He planned to blame Brittany for the vote as the reason why the house flipped and turned on Daniel. Now, of course, I think it was 8-1, the eviction vote, which we're not going to. We all know that Daniel went home, so it was an 8-1 eviction vote. But I mean, I don't see how they were going to flip it on Brittany when, I think it's pretty obvious. Even if let's say Daniel wasn't up this week, it's pretty obvious that Brittany doesn't like Daniel and Daniel doesn't like Brittany. So it's pretty much obvious that Brittany would vote Daniel out, or if let's say the roles were reversed and Michael and Brittany were on the block, that Daniel would vote Michael out if it was the case, right? So I don't understand their logic. And you call them, what did you call them? The peanut gallery?
Yes, the peanut gallery.
Twitter calls them the convenience store. Because if you think about it, leftovers are really good, right? You enjoy eating leftovers, and you go to get crap from the convenience store when you're in a hurry. So that's why they came up with the name convenience store on Twitter. Yeah, so I'm going to go with Twitter's name, the convenience store, or what you call it, the peanut gallery. Basically, the other side that doesn't know what they're doing half the time gets together, and they try to save Daniel. And Jasmine thinks, we can get Alyssa to vote out Kyle, right? And what did you think of that situation when Jasmine suggested, not to Alyssa's face, but to Daniel, I think if we work on this, and maybe Alyssa can vote Kyle out. Did you ever think that's a possibility?
I didn't think so. Now, I think the show did a good job at convincing you. Oh, this could be a toss-up. This honestly, without me watching the feeds going into today, I didn't really watch anything, so I didn't really know what the plan was. But the show did a good job of convincing me. Oh, Alyssa could vote Kyle out with the end of the showmance. Oh no, the end of the showmance. Whatever will we do? Yeah, but I think the show did a good job in terms of editing and that aspect where I was kind of convinced that this could have been a closer vote than it should have been, and before going in there. And then even Joseph, whenever Joseph said, "Oh, maybe I should just throw that vote just to kind of hide the alliance," I'm like, don't. Oh my God, if this turns on them, I'm gonna be upset. But I think, again, the show did a really good job in that edit in my aspect. And it did convince me that Alyssa could have possibly voted Kyle out. I will say that.
But did you actually think she would go through with it?
I was like a toss-up, but I think it could have been a 50-50 split majority, but I think it would have leaned of her not voting Kyle.
Okay. So you mentioned Joseph sitting on the couch with Jasmine, and I think Daniel was also there, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And you mentioned hey, I'll be a vote just to hide the alliance. What the show didn't tell you was this was Joseph's plan all along. If you watch the feeds, Joseph had this whole strategy going. I'm going to make the other side think this. And also, what the show, which maybe they will tell you in Sundays. No, I don't think they would have shown it because it happened before the eviction. It actually happened during veto and before the eviction. So I don't think they can show it unless they backtrack. But Joseph came up with this idea to help Taylor with the other side, not to target her, is to create a fake showmance between him and Taylor.
See, I caught that. I caught that last night.
But here's the thing. Hold on. But here's the thing. I don't think it's fake on Taylor's part. That's the thing. I think she really does like it.
See, again, the Wednesday show did a good job at teasing us in terms of, I'm really having a connection, and then suddenly you get the plot twist delays. But there is something there, and didn't Taylor admit that she kind of has a crush on Joseph too? And
I don't remember they showed it on the show.
And unlike the Alyssa Kyle one, which is just pure horny, This one is very unlike that one. Unlike that one, the Taylor Joseph one is much more wholesome. It's much more like, what's the word? There's much more true affection there in terms of Joseph cares about Taylor and wants to make sure she's okay. And Taylor is kind of getting attached to that. And I would be too if I had someone like that, especially stuck inside the Big Brother house. And I think it's a much better showman's, in my opinion, if it's going to happen, because it's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, like I said, what they didn't show on the episode was, yes, you're right. Everything you say is completely true. And I don't remember if they showed Taylor saying she had a crush on Joseph or not on the episode, but they definitely showed it on the feeds. And the funny thing is, like I said, I know it's a fake showman to hide the alliance and also to help Taylor with the other side, which I'm going to get to that in just a second. But sticking to this for 1 minute, I do think there is something there on Taylor's part. The only reason why I don't think it's on Joseph's part is because doesn't Joseph have a girlfriend on the outside?
I think he has an ex.
An ex. Okay, ex means ex. So that means a single lady.
I'll have to look back, but I think he's single. I think he mentioned an ex. Okay. I think it was like. Okay. I think it was there was someone else that had. I think someone had a partner, but I don't remember who. But I think Joseph is single going into the house. Okay, cool. I was like, he has a girlfriend or he has a single. I wasn't 100% sure. Let's be honest. If you're going into the house and you have something that's not a fiance or a married partner, it's not gonna last. You're not gonna. Your boyfriend or girlfriend might be pretty upset with you coming outside the house, or you got touchy with someone. You should be going into this house single if you don't already have a fiance or a married partner. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You're right, because we know that Michael is engaged to his fiance Hayden, so we know that nothing ever going to happen there with any guy in the house. I think it's the only gay guy in the house too, from what I understand.
Joseph, give me some vibes. I'm going to be honest. The whole thing with Pooch, I kind of, there's a. I don't think this guy's fully straight, and just to be frank.
Well, I will say. I mean, I am someone who is completely comfortable in my sexuality. I'm a straight male, but I have never seen I personally would never be touchy-feely with you or with any other dude. Like, and I'm pretty sure you'd be like, "Dude, get off me! What the hell are you doing?" If that was being you, you'd be like, "What the hell? You get off me, bro!" Like, I mean, no, I agree. But it was funny to watch. It was very funny. But I will say, I do ship Jailer is what Twitter's calling him, and Jailer. Tager or whatever the heck we're going to call it.
Let's go with Jailer. Jailer, let's not do the second name. That second name is horrible. Let's just go with the first. There's no conversation on this.
Better than Kalissa, okay? I mean, or what Twitter calls the Mayo Mans. So, I mean, we got... Probably should have waited till after you were drinking on that one. But okay, so let me ask you. Getting to back, speaking of the Mayo Mans, we talked about it earlier about would Alyssa ever vote out Kyle, right? And with Kyle and Alyssa, it's a weird situation because we saw him in the broadcast tonight talking to the camera. When we saw it on the feed, him acting all loopy and weird, but he did mention some very interesting points in the episode, which was I wanted to work with Alyssa, so that tells me he was planning to turn on the leftovers. If Alyssa would have agreed to whatever the plan was. Now, we know, as we talked about in Sunday's show, we do know that Kyle appeared to, Kyle wanted to divide the house and turn on the leftovers. It appeared that he wanted to divide them by race, which is, I'm going to work with all the white people. Not saying that was his intention at all. I'm just saying that's how it appeared. Now, Kyle was the one that came up with that idea. On the show, it looked like he's blaming Alyssa for that, for wanting to go after Monty, for wanting to get Monty out this week. And that was really Kyle's idea. And of course, Alyssa is just going to do whatever Kyle says because she's working with the guy. So back to the original part of this. Kyle talks to the camera and says, I wanted to work with Alyssa, but I'm 100% back with the leftovers now. But let me ask you, let's say Alyssa wins this next HOH competition. Do you see Kyle possibly flipping on the leftovers?
You have to, and that if that was the game to go with, yes, I would, because you gotta keep Alyssa close by, because this is where the showmance does come in handy. No matter even if it's just a game aspect, you have a showmance that you can guarantee your safety. Let's be honest. If you're having the showmance, you're having the close connections. Now, back to the show edit. I thought with that edit, I was very confused. I know I already had the context with the feeds and everything. I thought there was a lot more context with the feeds of things that Alyssa did in terms of kind of trying to turn on just whatever against what he was playing in the leftovers.
Right.
So there was a lot more context with the feeds. I didn't think I got that context with the show, and so it was a slightly kind of out of left field, and if you were just a viewer for the show. But now it makes, I think, remember going back to last week where Kyle was talking to the camera. He's like, this is so bad for my game, but man, she's so hot.
Uh-huh.
He's coming back. He's coming
no
back.
Denying that.
He's coming back to that realization that he needs to play the game, that he can't let the showmance get between him and getting further in the game. I think that's kind of what you saw on the show. Will it stick? I don't think so, but we're going to go with it. But I think he's becoming much more aware. I think the honeymoon phase of this is moving on, and he's coming back to reality a bit.
Yeah, I think so too. I think now, for those who don't know, Alyssa had a situationship, and I hate that term, but she uses it, so I'm going to use it too. She had a situationship coming into the house. I don't think the situation is a ship anymore, considering she's macking on some dude next to the damn, what was it, the lettuce, whatever that was. So, yeah, I don't think they're in a situationship. She does, sticking with Kyle and Alyssa for one more minute, and I'm very curious to hear your thoughts about this. On the episode tonight, we saw Alyssa in the diary room saying she likes Kyle, she really has feelings for Kyle. And this is at the point where we talked about, would Alyssa ever vote Kyle out, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think she genuinely has feelings for Kyle, or do you think it is game?
It's feelings. I feel like it's certainly feelings. I know that the diary room is produced in a way, but I think that most of the time with the stuff that you see in the diary room is honesty, and because no one in the game's going to hear it, no one in the game's going to see it until after the fact. So I think the feelings are mutually there.
Okay, that's fair. And you think they're there on you say mutual, so you think also they're on Kyle's part too?
I think so.
Well, you said mutual, dude.
Horniness.
So which is it? Do they want to bang, or is it mutual? Or they mutually want to bang?
Let's just say yes for the humor of this joke. I think I was spaced out.
Good. All right.
Well, just go with that. I spaced out.
This is gonna be the promo for this episode. They mutually want to bang. Anyway, so that's the promo for this episode. We got it. Oh my god.
That's gonna be a new term that has to be used now.
Oh my god. All right. So getting away from that for 1 second. Keep moving on from that. All right. So we see Daniel or Julie. We come back from commercial, and Julie's like, Daniel he's not going to give up without a fight. So we see Daniel making a pitch here, telling them, like, you play your own game. These are the people that's working together. This is the alliance. He's not sure, but we know that he's right. We know that those 7 are working together. And he's spot on. It's unfortunate that the convenience store or the peanut gallery doesn't believe him, but he is spot on in what he is saying. So do you think at that point Daniel is like, you know what, I'm screwed at this point, I should just throw everything against the wall? Or do you think there was a legit chance that he could have been saved? Or could be saved?
I think by the time that speech came, it was sealed, because It clearly, because Jasmine, Indy, and Alyssa voted to evict him. The people that were possibly going to save him. So I think at that point it was already a sealed deal. And I think he understood that even if he stayed, he was going to be out most likely very soon. And he tried the last ditch effort of trying to turn it to get Kyle evicted in return, except for him. But I think by the time that, because he was already shown desperation on the feeds, looking for some hidden veto that was going to happen, Ian style or something like that. And I just think that he like he said in his exit interview, he knew his time was kind of up, and I think it was just going to be a last ditch.
Yeah. So as you just said, Kyle, I was about to say Kyle was evicted. No, Daniel was evicted on an 8-1 vote. He talks to Julie in the interview, and she kind of says, I thought this is a very interesting question that she asked him. You could have used the veto to save Nicole last week. Do you blame yourself for her eviction? And he said no. Let me ask you the same question Julie asked him. Do you blame Daniel for Nicole's eviction?
Yes, yes. I should have interrupted you because I just was going to say yes. It's like Monty told you what to do. I know that this is the second week we're talking about this. Monty told you what to do, and you said, nah, I'm going to do my own thing. I don't believe you. You're not going to keep my best friend in the house safe. I'm going to go against you. Take that, Monty. Monty goes, okay, Nicole, you're on the block.
Yeah.
It's like any situation that's going to put your ally in risk, don't do it. Don't do it. Come on.
Yeah, and this reminded me of I know you weren't watching this season yet, but way back when you may have seen a clip of it, but there was a contestant named Marcellus.
Yeah, I know I know the story of Marcellus. I know the story of Marcellus.
Okay, perfect. So you know what I'm going to say.
Again, the first person that he had the power of veto, was on the block, and he was like one of the first people to not use it on himself, and got himself rightfully hit with the papers by Julie Chen. Mm-hmm. It was pretty much a Marcellus situation, but it wasn't Daniel sending himself out. It was him sending his best friend out.
His best friend out, yeah. I knew it was nuts. I mean, that was cool. But then we see Julie confirm to him his suspicions. The leftovers exist. And they consist of the 7 that we know they consist of. I'm not going to name them all because if you're watching this episode, you probably know who the leftovers are.
You know who it is.
Yeah, so we're not going to sit here and list them. And of course, Daniel knew. He was suspicious, I should say. It's not like he saw them in a secret meeting in the HOH room, but he saw them all meeting up there. It does take a guy with half a brain to figure that out. They're working together. So, well, maybe if you're Jasmine. But I mean, that's what happened there.
Or Terrence. Anyone that's on the peanut gallery. I'm just going to keep using it. Everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The peanut gallery is not helping themselves outside of Alyssa. And I think Alyssa is the one that can honestly be aware of this.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. So she confirms it. But what I noticed when Julie's telling him this is she's like, you know what? They formed after you went after Taylor in the bathroom. After they felt, they are the ones that are left over, hence the name Leftovers. And also they formed because of what they felt was the unfair treatment of Taylor. And you can see Daniel's face kind of drop when she says that, the unfair treatment of Taylor and you went after her in the bathroom. Like those two things were like in the same sentence that she said. And you can see his face drop. And he claims to clear the air with her before he left. We don't know if that happened or not because obviously the feeds don't show everything and the feeds are down during the time when they're getting ready for the eviction anyways. So we don't know if he actually did or not. Do you think he is genuine in his reaction, and do you think he is genuinely sorry if he did apologize?
So comparing to last week, Nicole, whenever she had her eviction interview, she kind of just kept a straight face and kind of, you could see that there was kind of a fake smile with her, that she didn't think she did anything wrong or anything like that. Now, the difference is Daniel, he was a really good sport. whenever you also really saw that in the veto speech where when Michael did that callback, he smiled and he laughed because I think he was aware that what Michael was doing was honestly brilliant in terms of doing the callback, and I think he understood that that's a good move. And like he said, he's a good sport the whole time at that exit interview. He laughed and he said that's awesome whenever he found out that the leftovers was real, and he looked happy in general. He wasn't like putting on a fake smile or anything. And like you said, his face dropped, and I think he's very genuine. Yeah, he was a bit of a dick. We're going to be honest in that part. But also, also it's the Big Brother house, so I think the worst of you can sometimes come out. But I think he's genuine, and knowing how Taylor was with Nicole's the exit diary room, where she's a genuine person, I think they could have easily cleared stuff up, knowing how Taylor is and how amazingly forgiving that she is. Now she's going to be ruthless in her diary room exit video to you, but I think there was something genuine though.
Yeah, I will say Daniel's speech and him storming out, only hugging Terrence, and then storming out of the house. Julie didn't even finish reading the vote, and he got up by a vote of 8, and he was up and out, walking out towards the door. He knew. That sends bitterness to me that he got played by Monty and by the 7. That sends basically F all of you to not swear on the show, but kind of like a F all of you kind of thing. And in that sense, he seemed bitter in that sense.
Yes.
In that part, I was here, I applied for, he said in the direct, I waited 10 years to be here, blah, blah. In that part, he was bitter that he got played. And let's be real. The peanut gallery, I'm going to use our term, the peanut gallery is getting played like a fiddle right now by the leftovers. That is just the truth. But Taylor's goodbye message to Daniel, my favorite goodbye message, I would take it, let me say that again. Taylor's goodbye message and Michael's goodbye message.
The idiot sandwich callback.
The idiot sandwich meme, yeah. Yeah.
Which honestly, I didn't know that was Julie Chan at first. I never did and Michael said the same thing on stream on Wednesday night. It's like, oh yeah, that was Julie. It's like, you're like, that was Julie. I'm like, wait, that was Julie? And so I think I stopped in the middle of the clip and I watched it. It's like, this is hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that was a charity Master Chef or whatever that was. But anyway, or Celebrity Master Chef. But anyway, or whatever show that was. Anyways, you just clearly, I don't watch that show.
I think it was a James Corden skit.
Oh, was it?
Because James Corden was in it, and he said that was just a.
This was just a skit. Ramsay.
Because it was Gordon Ramsay, but it was a James Corden was in the skit. Because it was a skit of Ramsay running Julie and James Corden through Hell's Kitchen, pretty much.
Okay. See, I haven't seen it, so I was like, I just know of that meme, an idiot sandwich. But I'm just thinking, whenever they go to record these messages, imagine Michael going to the diner with 2 things of bread in the house. Where are you going? Oh, I'm going to the diner and make my goodbye message. And I mean, that was just hilarious. I loved it. It's like you have an idiot sandwich. I'm thinking, yeah, because Daniel was an idiot. And then Taylor's, you're going to get your wish. You won't see me until finale. And she had a little head nod, a wink to Daniel. And again, I'm thinking, you know what, fair play.
And again, Daniel was laughing. He enjoyed seeing that because I think, like you were saying, there was bitterness going out of the house. But I think once the game ended for him, once he stepped out of that house, he just kind of put himself into a much more positive mindset that he's talking with Julie. He played Big Brother. He got played, and then he just realized his competition was good. They were playing and unlike he was saying, it's like, this is going to be such a boring season. Once he was learned that this 7 has been running the house for the past 3 weeks, he said, "Get respect." I think there was some respect there. He realized that he got played and it's like, yeah, that was fun though, and that's a good game as a competitor, as a as a person who was playing the game. I think he respected that. Now again, it could be all a show. He is an Elvis impersonator, so he has some acting chops. We can't deny that. But overall, I think he was a good sport in the exit interview. And again, I enjoy seeing some laughter, especially from some of those diary rooms, because this could be pretty brutal.
Yeah, they've had some very good goodbye messages over the seasons that we've seen. So we get back. Go ahead.
Question. So are any of those going to rank in some of your favorite exit diary rooms ever?
Yeah, I would say Taylor's definitely for sure, just because of everything she went through. Daniel, literally the first week, was a dick to her. The first week in front of the whole house, which we weren't doing the show at the time. But even I tweeted like that, which is completely uncalled for. Whether you like the girl or not, at that point of the show or in the game, you don't barely know these people. I don't think he should have done that. But Taylor's definitely, and Michael's for sure. You know, those two are my favorites. But before we move on to the last part of this episode, I got to ask you, what is your favorite or top two favorite diary room goodbye messages?
Okay, I'm glad, because I kind of set this up because I have two diary rooms, and they're from the same eviction, and it's Mike Boogie and BB14. Where first you get Brittany using the phone, talking to Janelle, and say, "Oh, Mike Boogie's not here, but I can leave a message for you." And then her just laughing, doing the Chilltown, laughing at the camera.
Yeah.
And then Ian describing the downfall after Boogie was just upset with Ian. He walking out of that house. He was kind of like Boogie walking out of the house was kind of how Daniel was tonight, bitter, and didn't really understand. But then once he learned what happened game-wise, and how Ian plotted his demise, and then he started clapping. He said, "I respect it." That's kind of how Daniel was tonight, in terms of now. Michael, I think he's got third with that idiot sandwich, just because I love the callback. But nothing's gonna beat Brittany using the Chilltown phone and Ian talking about Boogie's demise.
Speaking of Michael and Chilltown, did you, and I don't mean to backtrack to Wednesday's episode, but we're talking about diary room, so I feel it's relevant. Whenever he did the phone call, "Hey, Nicole, oh, you missed your best friend Daniel. Don't worry, you'll see him tomorrow." Like, I'm thinking that had me laughing. That was perfect. I'm thinking, that production told him to do that.
Now,
that, or maybe they didn't, because he is a Big Brother super fan.
So two things. One, don't put the fake phone sound effect in there. That was too loud, first off. If you're going to do it, you got to do that. Bring, hello.
Bring, bring.
You got to do it yourself. And two, if I'm in the Big Brother house, I'm going to do a damn Chilltown phone. I'm going to have fun with that. As a Big Brother super fan, I'm doing that. I'm doing the phone. You have to. And Michael doing it just shows how dedicated he is to this.
Yeah, I love it. It was my favorite of the my favorite of this season, at least this season, one of my favorite DRs. I will say real quickly, we're still on the subject of DRs. I am a fan, as you know, of International Big Brother, and one of the main reasons why I'm a fan of International Big Brother, the diary rooms are not scripted. Like, some of these diary rooms are scripted as hell. The diary room is telling them what to say, or at least giving them an inkling of what they want them to say, right? But in other international versions, you see or hear Big Brother or the producer talking to them. Like, how are you feeling? How do you feel about nominations? Are you worried about whatever? And you hear their genuine conversation. Now, of course, I understand this is the U.S. It's a completely different version. I'm just saying it's good to see non-scripted diary rooms in other versions. So if you ever do watch international versions, you're going to see that.
See, but I will say I do miss again, going back to Brittany, who was probably one of my favorite players of all time. It's because of her diary rooms were very genuine. They weren't. Now, I guess the producers kind of had so what do you want to talk about? It's like, mother effer, damn Rachel, Rachel. And just her going off all the house guests. I love that kind of diary room. And we've got a few this season. It's not a lot. I don't like Jasmine's diary rooms. Those are the fakest things you could ever see.
God, no.
Now, Michael, Michael, I think would be more genuine, but again, it goes back to what you're saying. It's very produced. The diary room is much more produced than it should be, but there's some genuine moments in there. If there's a few times, but I would like to see less scripted. I would like to see more. I would like to see the diary room be used again as the Brittany room.
Yeah. I agree. Real quick, just touching on the Britney thing for one last thing. Funny thing, I don't know if you remember this. She got Rachel's hair extensions and put them in her hair for one of those.
I saw that. I saw the clip of. I forgot who the other guy's name was. It Matt? Was it her, when her and Matt is like, and her recap in the diary room of the busted darting eyes. That again might have been slightly produced, but again, it was played genuinely and it was played perfectly.
Yeah, so funny. All right, so getting back to the episode, so we go to commercial, but oh no, we don't go to commercial. Julie calls the house to the living room. Jasmine, hobbles her way there, and Julie's like, you know what, Jasmine, take your time. I'll wait for you. I'm thinking even Julie's over her fake injury at this point. Like, come on, man. So Julie tells the house that the Festie Bestie twist is over, and they all have made it to jury. And they all celebrate making it to jury like they just won the Mega Millions jackpot. So let me ask you, how do you think the Festie Bestie twist being over will affect the game moving forward? Now, we know there's another twist, which we're going to get to in just a second. But speaking about the Festie Bestie twist right now being over, how do you think this affects things moving forward?
Depending on who wins the head of household going into this, it's going to be... Say that it is the one of the 7. And now I think I have some doubts with Kyle, but going to the one of the 6, it's going to be a one-sided game for at least for the next week, depending on how the next twist turns out, which we'll talk about after this. But depending on who wins head of household, it's going to become a one-sided game. And now, if someone on the convenience store side, if one of them wins, it could be pretty. I think that would be a fun twist in terms of, oh, this is not a surefire thing for the leftovers. They're vulnerable, but I think it becomes a one-sided week pretty much if a leftover wins head of household, and I think that's how it's going to play the game. You're not going to have these misdirections of, oh, there's one. We got to put at least one of our members on the block. You're not going to have that. You're going to have say it was Joseph. You're going to put it's going to be like Indy and Terrence, or Indy Jasmine, Alyssa Jasmine. It's going to be something of that combination, and it's going to stay. And even if one of them gets taken off the block, the other person, say a Jasmine, is going to go back on the block. So it would be a very one-sided week if that happens.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because what the episode has not shown yet is last night Joseph was up really late, and I know this because I was up really early this morning, and I watched a little bit of it. Joseph was up late talking to Alyssa, and Alyssa, Jasmine, and Terrence, and Indy made a fake alliance called the Five Swatters. It is not real. It is a fake alliance, obviously.
Joseph's not that. Hold on. I just want to mention, all these alliance names outside the leftovers have been atrocious this year.
Yes. And so that happened. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, because I think this will have an effect on this next week, depending who wins the HOH. Because Joseph is trying to cover his butt in case Festie Bestie twist would end, which it did, and cover the alliance's butt in the same time. So, funny thing, after they go all in and, we're the Five Swatters, which is, again, horrible name. You're basically all saying you're flies, and they're going to swat you out of the... anyway, it's beside the point. But, so then Joseph goes up to the HOH, to Michael's HOH, and he's like, hey, guys, I'm in an alliance. And they all just start busting out laughing because they all know what's going to happen. And the thing is, they all went to bed early because, what's going on with the HOH competition. They all knew it was going to be an endurance because obviously production tells them, hey, you got to dress this way or whatever. So they all knew it was going to be some type of endurance. And so they went to bed early, and then Josie kind of fills Taylor in on what happened this morning. So that's basically the backstory. If you guys want to watch it, if you guys have the feeds, go flashback to last night around, I believe it was 4:30 a.m. Big Brother time, somewhere around there. So yeah, they go to bed late this season. Like, we got a late night crew this season. So keep an eye on that if you guys want to see it. So after Julie informs the house of the Festie Bestie twist being over, she announces the next HOH comp, which is a conspiracy theory comp. It is the flat Earth comp, which I think Kyrie Irving would absolutely enjoy if he was in the house, because Ty, you and I are basketball people. We both know exactly what we're talking about here. Kyrie Irving is a flat earther. I'm thinking, oh man, and then Julie just, I'm thinking. I tweeted this in a poll. I was like, is Jasmine going to make it past the commercial break? We don't know. And
now, she got through the commercial break. Let's give her that. She did. And it just made it even better that like the last minute that they have of show, she falls.
Yes.
Was she falling when Julie was talking near the end?
Yeah, as the credits were rolling, when Julie says "Good night, house guests," as soon as she said that, boom, her butt falls off. So I'm thinking, and then all it's worth, like, oh my God, is her ankle okay? Is she going to be injured again for a week or a month? Like, obviously being sarcastic about it, but I'm thinking it was just hilarious. So Julie announces, the wall comp, and we're all thinking, this is what's going to happen with the wall comp and things like that. Before we get to the last part of the episode, wall comp, I want your prediction of who you think has the best chance of winning this.
It's gonna be the girls that are light. It's gonna be either Alyssa or Taylor. It's the guys that are that have a lot more mass on them. That they're not gonna get through it. Joseph, Monty, Terrence. Now I think if Michael was playing this, I think he would have a chance because he's a bit more slender. While he's tall, I think he would have had a chance, but he's not playing since he's outgoing HOH. But I think anyone that is much more slim, less mass to hold them down, either be just any of that, I think they have the best chance. So if I'm going to put money on it, it's going to be one of those two.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say bigger people, and I don't mean that like by size, I mean like by height and build, never really do well in this competition. Men, women, if you're a big, like for example, Christmas was built, she did not do well in wall comps. Things like that. So I would say, I agree, Alyssa, Taylor, and I'm even going to throw Turner in there actually, because Turner is smaller. He's not as built as some of the other guys. I think he would also have a really good shot of actually staying up there longer for the guys.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to come down to Alyssa and Taylor for sure.
Yeah. So I think I would include Turner as my third wild card. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, so before we end the show, Ty, we got to talk about this last twist. Julie announces before the show ends that there is a twist coming up, and you have the audio. So,
yes.
Guys, let's listen into what Julie had to say.
Let's have Julie explain this.
The first time ever, the game will completely change as the house splits into two groups. These two groups will have no interaction. And in a Big Brother first, two completely separate games of Big Brother will play out simultaneously all week long. All of it culminating with a double eviction like no other.
Okay, so it was a bit one-sided so Steven couldn't hear, but I was able to hear. But it's going to divide the house into two different games. So
yeah.
And from what I saw on Twitter, that there were clarification that this twist would happen next week. Thus the 2 hour, thus the 2 hour long episode, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So this is the way I think it's going to work, and I cannot credit myself for this because I did not think of this idea. I'm going to shout out the person is Big Brother Gossip on Twitter. They said it like this. So this is they think the way it works. They think it works like this. And then I'm just going to read their tweet. They said, "I think I figured out next week's split house stuff. They will do a normal eviction. Then the house will be split, and there will be two simultaneous HOHs, and then they will have a double power of veto. Ultimately, one nominee from each side that everyone will vote on." Now, let me ask you, Ty, does that make sense to you?
Yes, that does. And honestly, that makes sense. That's a fun double eviction, if we're being honest. That really that spices it up. I like that. I like that idea.
It does. Okay, so this is my next question. The leftovers have promised each other final seven. Kyle, he was wavering back and forth for a little bit, but they basically promised each other final seven. Does this twist mean the leftovers final seven is over?
I don't think so. And it would depend on how the house was split up. Now, say that you get a side, because how many players will there be after one more eviction? I'm trying.
I believe there'll be 10, 5 and 5.
So 5 and 5. If you're the leftovers, you're just hoping that one of those sides is not all 5 of you. I think that if the final 7 ends, if one of those sides is pure leftovers, you're no convenience store food or anything like that. You're having a healthy leftover. If that happens, the game's over. At least in terms of that. And honestly, that can breed some fun gameplay in terms of, we have, say that it was one side, and just randomly throwing it up. Say that it was Michael, Brittany, Taylor, Monty, and Alyssa. And say that one of those final 3 in Brittany, Michael, and Taylor win. This is your shot at Monty if you really want it. And so you can have some fun. I think there's going to be some fun scenarios in that aspect, especially being a sped up week pretty much. That's because it's going to be a double eviction within an hour. So I think it's going to be a lot. So because I think you get the first eviction within the first hour, okay. And it plays out like a normal double eviction, just 2 hours
gotcha. See, it's confusing to me too. So I'm saying that I agree. But here's the thing: it depends. As you said, it depends how they're split up. They're going to be split right down the middle, and you're going to have 5 leftovers on one side, and let's just say Indy's the other one, right? And they go through the process of nominations, veto, all that. The leftovers would still have the numbers on their side, depending who's up from the other side. Let's say the other side, there's Joseph up is on the other side, and then on where the leftovers are, Jasmine is up. They would still have the votes to get rid of Jasmine, hypothetically, if she's on the block. Or let's say Taylor's up against Indy. They would still have the votes to get rid of Indy. Now, remember, if it's going to work like a Big Brother normally works, the HOHs would probably not get a vote. Yes. Unless there's an event of a tie. So if the event of a tie, I'm very curious to see how that would work too.
Because it's going to be a tie in terms of, so again, you're going 5 house guests. You're going to have a head of household and then 2 nominees. So you can have a split vote. You can have a 1-of-1 vote, and then the head of household for whichever side it is can make the tiebreaker. If I'm leftovers and you are properly split up, you're going to try to target one of those outside house guests to pair up against the other house guest. That would be the strategy. So, but you can have split votes in this aspect because again, you're going to have 2 nominees, 2 voters, and then the head of household. And this, with a 10 total teams, 5 of each.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, makes my brain hurt. So we'll
all find out in a week. But
we're going to find out in a week. Ty, you and I are going to be up late that night to talk about this eviction.
I am ready because I think it's going to be fun. I think that's going to be a fun episode if it's going to go out the way in that format. I think that would be a very fun show.
Yeah, and regardless of who it is on the block or who it is that gets evicted, it's going to be fun. And what a way to start the jury too. What a way to you're going to have a partner in there to go to jury with. So could you imagine if hypothetically it's Indy and Taylor going to jury together, like they just hate each other? That's going to be a fun jury house for a couple weeks.
Also, don't say Taylor. Come on.
I'm just throwing it out there. I love Taylor. As I said, I would love to see her win the whole thing, even get to the finals. I'm just throwing out people who don't like each other at this point, and now everyone doesn't like Taylor for some reason.
I do like, as the I know some of you are not going to like a new twist, but I do like that gives the house 1 week of a false sense of hope, a false sense of safety in terms of, this game's going to be normal.
Yeah, and getting back to what I said before with Joseph Creed, that fake alliance, I'm very curious to see how that will benefit him and maybe even some of the leftovers as we get into this coming week with this whoever wins this HOH, whoever's nominated, whoever wins veto, and then going into this twist. I'm very, very curious to see how the house reacts when Julie tells them what's going on and how they're split up, how everything is going to go. It's going to be so interesting to watch this. And I'm curious, is this a one-shot twist next Thursday, or is it going to be a week's worth of craziness again in the following? I'm very curious to see how that's going to go because this Festie Bestie thing lasted 3 weeks.
I think it's going to be a one week or one night type thing, just from the sounds of it. Since it is, I don't think as much as fun as it would be to separate the house completely for a whole week into two separate houses. That would be pretty fun, but I think that this is going to go more for a express double eviction type thing, because they said double eviction, so you're going to get at least 2 house guests going out. So, and I just thought I had another format. Imagine you do the head of household as normal, but you get 2 head of households, and then they pick the sides for which they pick the people to go on their side. Like a backyard, a playground type of draft. That's just another format.
I'm very curious. I'm very curious to how they're going to split them as well. I'm very curious to how they're going to split. Is it going to be a random draw like they do for the veto? Is it going to be? I'm very curious to how they're going to split them. And also, we all know the leftovers love to do their late night meetings. I'm very curious to see how that is going to go when they can't communicate with the other side, especially if the leftovers are split up.
And that'd be I think that's, again, there's so many questions about this twist. I think that's certainly what the producers were planning. There's going to be a lot of talk on this because there's going to be a lot of speculation, a lot of thinking, and maybe they had a plan for something and they say, oh, someone had a better idea on Twitter. Let's just do that idea. They can pull it off. They can pull it off.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's going to be fun. It's going to be great to see how this is going to go. But Ty, you and I will be here on Sunday to talk about HOH. We will be here on Thursday to talk about that massive twist. It'll be a late night for us Thursday, but it's going to be fun to go through all that together.
So much fun.
So before we get out of here, any final thoughts?
I'm having fun. Again, this is not a boring season. I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm having fun. I'm having a lot of fun. This season was going to be boring for the first 2 weeks, but man, those leftovers really gave me a good little spice. So I'm having a good time. I am not bored. Not at all.
I'm sitting here with my bag of Lay's, enjoying some leftovers. I really am. So before we sign off, I just want to remind you guys where you can find us on Twitter. Ty, they can find you on Twitter where?
Right underneath, if you can see the name, it's the Ty Jäger. You can follow me there on Twitter. I do a lot of stuff from Spurs coverage to reality TV and then some politics. I'm a good mix. I'm a good follow. So go follow me there.
Yes, and I am on Twitter at the Stephen A. If you want to talk reality TV, America's Got Talent, Big Brother, international TV shows, and of course I got to promote my Twitter handle for my political side. Stephen Reports on Twitter, talking everything from President Biden to Donald Trump to everything else going on in this crazy political world we live in. So please go ahead and follow me there, and of course follow the show Fwrd Access Live on Twitter, and of course following Fwrd Access as well. And of course you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts as well. Every single time on the move, on the go, no matter what. You'll be here to give you the most accurate news possible. So for Ty Jäger, I am Stephen Michael. Thank you all for joining us. We will see you on Sunday night, or Monday technically. We'll see you on Monday for the next episode where we will recap this amazing wall comp that we are currently watching to the side here. But until next time, we'll see you guys on Fwrd Access Live, where the news is always fair and balanced. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for joining Fwrd Axis Live. Hear this episode and more wherever you listen to your podcasts. Visit www.fwrdaxis.com to get the latest news happening in our world today. Follow us on Twitter at Fwrd Axis Live